All right, my name is Jim Joy. This is my first experience with cooking on camera. So as everyone knows, Italians have a certain way of cooking, and it really starts out with pouring a glass of wine. So step one, pour yourself a little glass of wine. Very nice, any kind will do. Today we're going to be making a standing rib roast. Some people will call this a prime rib. If you're going to a butcher, you will call it a standing rib roast. It comes in 3 grades: prime, choice, and select. Prime is very marbled and very expensive. Choice is what you typically find in the supermarket, and select you typically won't even see, so we'll skip that one. Here is our 9-pound choice standing rib roast. We need to align our pan with tin foil. I'm actually going to double line it. It just makes cleanup a little easier. Now I need to open the prime rib. I've put on food safety gloves. Most of that is just because you don't want to get your hands all dirty. All right, here is our prime rib. And as you can see, it's got 3 nice bones here, and we're going to take this knife here and we're going to cut the bones off, which is no easy feat, but still needs to be done. If you go to a butcher, they will cut the bones off for you, and it makes your life a little easier. And as you probably heard, that noise is the oven being preheated to 450 degrees. Okay. Here are the 3 bones. 1, 2, 3. We're going to put those on our foil. Here is the rest of the giant piece of meat. We're going to put that back on the bones. And the only reason we cut it off now is because it's easier to cut it off now. After the roast is done, it's a lot harder to cut the bones off and still have the nice crustiness on the skin. We put the fat side up, and we have to make our rub. So I'm going to make a rub of rosemary that I have cut up fresh from our rosemary plant. And now you have to give me a second to wash my hands. I'll have the customary towel over the shoulder. I'm going to have fresh garlic, maybe a tablespoon, probably a tablespoon and a half of salt. And I'm using extra virgin olive oil, but you can use whatever oil you feel you like. Stir it up. So it's not liquidy, but it's not solid. It's kind of pasty. And this will be the top. We're going to pour it over the fat on the standing rib roast. And we we are ready to go. So this roast will go in the oven at 450 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes to sear the outside so it has a nice crustiness to it. Timer, 15, start. And that's step one. All right, it's been 15 plus minutes that our standing rib roast has been in the oven at 450 degrees to sear the outside. So I'm just going to show you. You can see it's now got a brown texture, so it's seared. So you don't really need to do anything to the roast itself. What we're going to do is just lower the oven temperature and bake at 325. And we will continue to bake at 325 until it's done. So I got this recipe. There's recipes all over. Sometimes we use the Joy of Cooking, and you can look in here to the section on beef. Additionally, you can go on the internet and just Google standing rib roast recipe, and there's 1,000 of them out there. They're all great. The only thing that you want to understand is do not overcook the meat. So we're going to be cooking our meat today to medium rare, which is approximately 120 to 125 degrees. So I'm going to put this with a 9-pound roast. It's about 12 to 15 minutes a pound, which is 110 minutes or so on the low end. I'm going to set this timer for an hour and a half, and then use my meat thermometer to start testing the temperature. And then I will just adjust it and keep cooking it until I hit the 120, 125 degree temperature. So we'll talk to you again in an hour and a half. All right, it's been an hour and a half, so our roast is ready to be checked for temperature. But first, two things. I've tucked in my shirt because I've been told that it looks better on camera. Two, going back to point number one, I have a different drink. Today we're drinking mimosas, pomegranate mimosas specifically, 4 parts Prosecco or Champagne, 1 part orange juice, and a dash of pomegranate syrup. Lovely. We'll put our oven mitts on. Pull the roast out. Be careful because the juices are flowing. And we're going to put our portable thermometer in to check the temperature. And the temperature is going down. Well, so around 83 or 82 degrees. So we have a while to go, which is fine. We're expecting it to be longer. So I'm going to put it in for another half hour, and we'll check again. We'll see you in a half an hour. All right, it's been a half an hour again, so we're going to pull the roast out a little bit and measure the temperature and see where we're at. Put the thermometer in, and we are at 102 and counting, 105. Well, we're clearly not done, so it took a half an hour to get from 80 to 105, and we need another 20 degrees or so. So we'll put this in for another 20 minutes. And in the meantime, we're going to make a salad. I've already pre-cut romaine lettuce with tomatoes and onions. We're going to throw just a dash of garlic powder in, maybe a touch of oregano, salt. You need a lot of salt. I know it looks like a lot of salt, but it's not enough. And fresh ground pepper, red wine vinegar, just a splash, and extra virgin olive oil. And we'll toss that all together. And you will have a lovely side salad with oil and vinegar dressing. All right, well, we will see you next time when the roast is ready to come out of the oven. All right, we're going to try testing the temperature again. We'll pull out our roast and I'll spill only a little bit of hot oil. So our temperature gauge says 126, 127, 128, 29. All right, I think we're doing good. So we're going to take this out. I think we're done. So we take this out. Careful not to spill, because there's a lot of fat juices there. And we are going to get our tin foil and tent the meat and let it rest for about 10 minutes. So after we tent it, we're going to come back and cut it. Okay, we're in the last episode of our series. The meat has been tented. This is the giant cut of beef. I'm going to transfer it over to a cutting board. In addition, I'm going to take the bones that everything was resting on, transfer that over to a cutting board. And we're going to cut the bones. And put those in a serving plate. Somebody will love gnawing on a bone. In a worst case scenario, your dog will love gnawing on these bones, although I don't advocate that because they're cooked. And now we're going to cut this piece of beef. And there is your piece of beef. I'll get one more just for good measure. Apparently we're going to have a lot of leftovers. It's important to have a sharp knife. So there is our prime rib.